Hey guys, I want to introduce what I think is one of the most important and exciting and key themes to Way of the Carnivore, and of understanding just why the acceptance of our true biological nature really does open the door to how we're meant to live, and that in then turn is the key to living a satisfying, fulfilling life. So I want to talk about abundance. When we use the word abundance, what we're referring to is our relationship to the resources around us. Okay. Now, traditionally or ancestrally, that would have been all completely natural resources. So the things that you need for food, nourishment, medicine, and for making the tools and the traps that you would have needed to go about your life and to survive. Pretty basic, and everything is more or less within the reach of your arm. We know this because humans colonized every land mass that we know of other than Antarctica. And that was all during the last ice age. Now in the modern day, obviously, we have other resources, not least money, which is to some degree artificial, but at the same time very real, as we all know. Now, how does the appreciating the difference between a herbivore and a carnivore predator hunter, how does that affect your relationship to material assets, let's say? Because it's actually incredibly profound and fundamental to how we live. So think about it. Let's take a cow, or even a gorilla or an orangutan. Right, now these are herbivorous animals. They have very poor quality feed because it's plants that are very low in nutrition, very low in energy, and require relationships with trillions of bacteria in order to derive good value from them. And that's a fantastic system, and it works well if you're a herbivore, which you aren't. Now, these animals tend to be surrounded by their food. Look, here I am. This is a field. Those are trees. Okay, so if I'm a grazer, I would graze on grass, and if I'm a browser, I would, like we understand the dinosaurs were, and giraffes and stuff like that, elephants, they browse, which means they eat leaves. And some animals like cattle will eat grass and leaves. But the key point here is that they're surrounded by their food. There's a huge amount of their food, but it's low in quality. So what they do is they wander around all day, relatively slowly, unless something exciting happens, and they just munch. They munch away, they chew, they digest, they repeat. It's a relatively peaceful, but mundane and repetitive existence. And they have to spend all day consuming. Now, humans are not meant to do that. We know what happens when humans spend all day consuming, but this is not really about health and obesity and stuff like that. This is about our attitude to the availability of resources. Now, what about a carnivore? What about a hunter? Okay, so in their case, in our case, it's very different. Because when you're a hunter, you are not surrounded by your food. Your food is running around out there, and you have to go and get it. And it has ways of not wanting to be got. It will run away, fly away, swim away, burrow, hide, or even fight, which is not the case in plants. Plants fight with chemicals and so on. So what's so different about that? Well, it's very important, because when you are a predator and your natural relationship to the most important resources out there, which are energy and nutrients, when that's something that you have to go out and get for yourself, then you know where we say where attention goes, energy flows. So your attention is your attitude to the world is that it's out there for the getting, but you have to go and get it. You can't sit there and wait for the antelope to walk by into your jaws. You have to go out and hunt the antelope. So how does that impact the way that we actually belong in and relate to the natural world and the unnatural world when we're talking about money? Well, I believe that it is then in our DNA to have that similar attitude to any kind of resource, right? If a human needs a spear, you have to find the flint or find the bit of bone, or and then you fashion it. You do these things for yourself, and you make the spear. You have to find the right stick. You have to attach them with sinew or glue or pine pitch or whatever it may be. Okay, so we make our tools with our hands, and then we go out and we find. We don't just wander around and munch. We go out and find the medicines, and most importantly, we go out and hunt for what is most essential to life, which is energy and nutrition. So how does this affect our attitude to, let's say, money or other resources that are relevant in the modern day? Well, I think that the same applies, basically. We are meant to, and by that I mean that we gain the most sense of purpose, of belonging, and of satisfaction when we acknowledge the truth that what we need is out there. So if you think about it, both worlds are abundant, right? The herbivore world, which is completely valid, is abundant because, look, we're surrounded by our food if we're a herbivore, which you're not. When you're a hunter, when you're a carnivore, yes, there's also plenty of food out there. But it's not absolutely everywhere, and you have to go find it. And so that's how we're wired. That's how we're wired in our brains, in our genes. We are wired to want to go out to find what we need. We're not just wandering around, moseying around. And there's some really important things that we're going to get onto here as well, about our attitude to danger and risk and safety as well. But just let that start to sink in, right? Humans, let's leave it with this. Humans are at their happiest and most fulfilled with that, let's say, slightly pioneering, entrepreneurial attitude to the world. Yes, the world is abundant, nature is abundant, but it's not going to drop into your lap. You are wired to go out and to find it, to discover success for yourself. See you next time.